Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lady Peace. In this video we are going to be learning how to draft a bustier dress. Now I actually made a bustier dress with gathers, and this right here is the pattern drafting video. In my next video I'm going to be sharing with you guys how you can cut and sew all of this. If you're interested in contents like this, please do well to keep watching. To make this dress, you'll be needing at least 6 yards of fabric. What I have here is 6 yards of African print, which you know as Ankara fabric. That's what I'm going to be making use of. And I also have here my pattern paper. I'm going to be using this pattern paper because this is a pattern drafting video. We're going to be drafting this first before we go ahead to cut it on our fabric. Okay, so remember this paper here is on fold. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw up a line at the top of this pattern paper here to serve as a shoulder line. I'm done connecting this line, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to take all my vertical measurements. Okay, so I'll place my tape from the shoulder line here, and I'm going to come down to my bust point. Shoulder to bust point for me is 11 inches, and I went ahead to mark shoulder to my under bust. I'm going to mark shoulder to my waistline, and of course I went ahead to add ½ inch for the joining allowance. Okay, so wherever your waistline is, do well to add ½ inch to it for the joining allowance. And after then I just went ahead to connect all these lines to give me a straight line. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take my chest line. Okay, so I'll place my tape from the bust point here, and I'll go up by 2 inches. Now if you don't know how to take your chest measurement, okay, go ahead and divide your round bust by 6 and add 1.5 to it. Whatever you get becomes your chest line, or you can decide to go up from the bust point by 2 inches just like I did. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and call this the chest line, this is the bust point, here is my under bust, and of course this is the waistline. The next thing I'm going to do now is to get my neckline, and I'm going to come down from this point by 3.5 inches. That's 3.5 inch here for the neck depth, and I'm going to go in by 3 inches for the neck width. After then I'll just go ahead and connect those points. Now we're not going to be making use of this neckline, but just in case you want to use like a yoke, I think this would be better for you. So I'll just go ahead and connect a round curve just like this, and once I'm done connecting this, the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my shoulder measurements. Now my shoulder is 15 and half of that is 7.5, so I'm going to mark 7.5 here, and from that point I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So you know our shoulders is not straight, so our shoulder is not straight, so you need to come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope, and I went ahead to connect it back to the neck width just like so. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to connect this point now back to the chest line. I'm going to use my straight ruler this way, and I'll connect it using my pen, just connect it back to the chest line. So once I'm through with this, the next thing to do is to get my armhole, and to do that I'm going to now place my tape back on this line here, and I'm going to divide what I have by 2. So I had 8 inches and half of it is 4 inches, and from that point I went in by ½ inch, and on the chest line I'm going to mark my round bust divided by 4. I'll mark it here, and after then I will use my curved rule and connect all those points to give me my armhole. I'm done connecting my armhole. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to get my dart. So to get my dart, I'm going to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement. So mine was 8 inches and half of that gave me 4 inches. I also went ahead to add ½ inch to it, so I marked 4.5 inches. Okay, so I marked on the bust point, on the bust point, and on the waistline. I'm just going to go ahead and connect all those 3 points to give me a straight line. After connecting this line, the next thing I'm going to do now is to come down from my bust point by 1 inch. Okay, so from the bust point here, I came down by 1 inch, and on the waistline I'm going to go out on both sides by ½ inch. Now I'm trying to get that leg, so I'll go out on both sides by ½ inch, and I'm going to use my straight ruler now to connect those points back to this point here. Can you see what I'm doing? So I'll connect from here to this point, and I'm also going to connect this other side here back to the top here. So connect it this way. Can you see? You connect it back to the top here, you have something looking very beautiful, just like this. So guys, before we draft our bustier, there's this particular thing I love doing. I'm going to place my tape from the bust point here and measure what I have from the bust point down to my under bust. As you can see, I had 4 inches. I'm going to use 4 inches now to create a round circle. Now this particular method I'm using is self-taught. I don't know how others go about their own, but I prefer doing this before I start drafting out the bustier. So I'm just using that 4 inches now to create a round circle. Please take note of where I'm placing my tape. I'm making sure that my tape is exactly in the middle, like that particular point where I drew my dart. So, and I'm going to continue drawing this round the circle. So you watch and see what I'm doing here. So guys, after connecting this circle, the next thing to do now is I'm going to come to this top area here and divide what I have there by 2. So I'll place my tape here and divide what I have by 2. So I'll fold it this way, and I'm going to go ahead and make a point here, and then I'm going to now connect that point now back to my dart. Okay, so go ahead and do same thing, and after then just use your straight ruler just like this. You're going to connect from that point. You're going to connect it now just like this. Can you see what I'm doing? I'll connect it now straight to this point here, around this bust point where I have this my dart. I'll connect it this way. So can you see? Now it's time to draft our bustier, and I'm going to now make use of my marker because I want you guys to see everything I am doing here clearly. So I'll be making use of my marker pen, and the thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure, like on this dart area, I'll go out on both sides by ½ inch. Okay, can you see what I did? I went out on both sides by ½ inch just like so, and I'm going to now use my straight ruler now to connect that back to my dart leg this way. Using my marker pen, I'll connect it back here, and I'm going to repeat same thing for this other side. I'll connect it down here. Can you see what I have now? And after then, I'm going to use my curved rule now and connect a curve back to this point. Can you see? Please pay attention to this particular part here because we are trying to get our bustier. So I'll connect a curve this way. Alright, so after then I'm also going to turn it over to this other side and also connect a curve. Can you see? Connect a curve, and you have something very beautiful just like this. So guys, I'm done with this, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure what I have in between that point. So I'm going to place my tape. I'll measure this way. Can you see where my pen is? Just from this point to this other side, and I had 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to give ½ inch to the part going towards the center of my pattern paper, and I'll give 1 inch to the part going towards the side. Okay, so this is it here. I'm now going to connect this back to my bust point using this straight ruler here and my marker. I'll just connect it back this way, and I'm also going to do same thing for this other side. I'll connect it back this way. Can you see? Now once I'm through with this, I'm now going to use my curved ruler and connect a curve to meet this point. So I'll connect it this way. Okay, just go ahead and connect it this way to meet this point, just like this. Okay, now I'm done with this, and the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out from the top area here by half inch. Now this is to prevent your bustier from having any gaping at the top. So you are going to go out by half inch, and you're going to connect it back to the point, just like this. Just pay attention to what I'm doing. You're going to now connect it back this way. I'll connect it like this, and I'm going to repeat same thing for this other side. I'll connect it back this way. So that means the first line here is no longer needed. We're not going to be making use of the first line anymore. So I'm done with this, and the next thing to do now is to get my sweetheart neckline. Now I don't want my boobs to show that much, so this totally depends on what you want. If you want yours to be very visible, you can decide to go down from your chest line by 1 inch. You can even decide to go down by 1.5, depending on what you want. So I don't want mine to be too revealed. I don't want it to reveal my boobs. I just hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So I'll just come down a little from my chest line. Okay, I'll connect from the second point at the top area here. Just look at what I'm doing. I'll connect it back to my chest line. I just came down a little. It's not even up to half inch. I just came down a little, just like this. So we are done with this other part. This is how to get your sweetheart neckline. Now for the other side, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure what I have in between my armhole area. Please pay attention so that you understand what I'm doing here very well. So you place your tape this way. I'll measure from this point to somewhere around here, and I'll divide what I have there by 2. Okay, so I went in by 1 inch, and from that point I came down by half inch. And I'm going to connect a straight line across. Okay, so I place my ruler, and I'm going to connect a straight line across, just like so. All right, so after connecting that line, I'm now going to bring my curved ruler, connect from this point back to this other point here using my curved ruler. So you're going to see, so I'll place it like this. All right, so go ahead and place it this way and connect it. So I'm going to connect it from here back to this point, just like so. I'll go ahead and smoothen this area this way because you don't want it to be that sharp. So go ahead and smoothen it this way. So once you are through, we are almost done with this. The next thing to do now is to now add all my body measurements. So I'm going to add all the horizontal measurements here. So remember, on the chest line, I'm going to mark my round bust divided by 4. So we are going to now use this new line here as our armhole, and I went ahead to add 1 inch for stitching allowance, and I also added half inch for ease. Now once you mark that, please go ahead and also replace the darts you had here. I actually made a mistake. I had to come back and measure what I have here to make sure that I replace it here, because if you don't do this, it's going to be too small by the time you are done cutting out your bustier. So I'm going to extend this line here because this wasn't enough. I went ahead to extend it here, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to come down to my waistline. I'm going to mark my round waist divided by 4. I'll mark it here, and I'm going to replace this dart of 1 inch and also add half inch stitching allowance, half inch for ease and 1 inch for stitching allowance. I hope you understand. Now I'll just go ahead and connect all those points with my straight ruler. So whatever you do, please make sure you replace all your dart intake, okay, so that by the time you are done cutting this out, it's not going to be too small. So this is what I have, guys, and this is how mine came out. You can already see this. You can already see the effects on it after I was done drafting out my bustier. It's already looking very beautiful. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is, you guys take note of this particular part here is our center, it's the side. I'm just going to go ahead and label it. So this here is our center front and this is the side. Okay, so after that I'm now going to go ahead and cut this out. So guys, this is the back pattern here. I've gone ahead to draft out a basic back pattern, and this is the chest, the bust line, under bust and the waistline. And I also went ahead to connect my neckline and then connected my armhole, and I also went ahead to draw out a line here for the zipper allowance line, but I'm not going to be making use of a zipper. So for the sake of those of you that might want to add your zip to it, I marked 1.5 inch as the zipper allowance line. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the chest line. After taking all my neckline and my armhole, I'll come to the chest line here and I'm going to make this line very bold. Like, I want it very visible because this is where I'm going to cut through. So for the sake of those that might want to add a zipper to this, you just go ahead and connect it out, like just the way I connected this. You can see that I had to connect it outside the zipper allowance line. And the next thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to come to the down part here and I'm going to also connect this line. This is just to make this very bold, like very visible for you guys to see. So just go ahead and connect everything outside the zipper allowance line. That is if you are going to be adding a zipper to this. So once I'm through with this, the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and cut this out. So guys, after cutting that out, I also want to cut away this zipper allowance line here. So remember I said I won't be using a zipper for this. I want to use loops for the bag. Okay, so after cutting it out, I'm also going to cut out this other part here. Now if you are going to use zip, there will be no way for you to cut off the zipper allowance line. Okay, if you are going to be using a zipper, there will be no need for you to cut off that zipper line. Okay, so this is what I have here. I'm also going to divide this pattern by cutting away this dart. So once you are through, go ahead and cut away these dart areas here. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm also going to cut and then also remove this other part. So I'm also going to, this is the only pattern I'm going to be working with. I want to add loops at the back and I want it to be very visible. So I'll just make use of this pattern here. This is the only one I'm making use of. And then the next thing I want to do is to take away 1 inch again from this pattern. So I'm just taking away 1 inch again from it. Once I'm done connecting, I'll just go ahead and connect a straight line. Using my ruler, I'll connect a straight line and then I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So if you watch this far, thank you so much. Please do well to hit on the subscribe button. If you are my old subscriber, I just want to tell you I love you guys and thanks for always coming around to engage on my videos. So this is the only pattern I'm going to be using for the back, and when I'm cutting this out, I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to cut 2 pieces for it. Okay, so you're going to see this in the sewing video. So I also have other patterns here that we drafted earlier, and this is all for the drafting. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.